Yeah, we were talking about it last week about
Yeah.
metaphysical and my mind went to you. You know how you can your healing, your holistic healing, and the work you did, and I thought, man, you know, and we told the group about you, how fantastic.
Okay. Oh no.
Gift. And the sessions we've had, and it's amazing because you know it's a talent which very few people have. Very few people have.
And I think more people have it than they know, though, too. I think that's part of the issue.
But it's your tuning, your awareness, your comprehension of the process. It's unbelievable, and so it's a real treat for everybody on the group today. It would just be fantastic. And you're welcome to come. You know, come back anytime. You know.
Oh yeah, I know.
Andrea.
Yeah.
I have to ask a particular question.
Yeah.
Is it okay if Kent's name comes up?
Absolutely. In fact, I meant to email you to say it's fine. Anything you want to say is fine. It's all good. Yeah. Perfectly fine.
Okay, so you're,
Yeah.
I have no doubt his name will come up.
Hi. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Hi.
Say hi, Andrea.
Hi.
Hi.
I got this. Hello.
Oh, wow.
Hello.
Wow.
Wow. Hi. Anna.
Anna.
Hi.
Hello.
Shana, how are you?
Good.
There's Andrea, Anna.
I know.
Yeah.
I can see you.
Yeah, she's waving at me.
A long time.
I know.
Wow, beautiful kids.
Beautiful
Very-
family.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I got this. That's for Daddy.
That's for his daddy. He made that for his
Aw.
daddy.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Oh, very, very nice.
And he lost his tooth. He wants to show you he lost his tooth.
Wow.
That's
So
awesome.
cute.
All right, mate.
All right, we'll let you guys keep going.
Have a good day.
Okay.
Enjoy your day.
Bye.
Take care. Anna.
Thank you,
See
Anna.
you, mate.
See ya. See ya.
See ya.
Bye. They're so cute.
All day, all day,
Yeah, they keep us on our toes.
all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Andrea, I was hoping to talk a little bit about metaphysical today.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that you would give us some insights
Okay.
and, you know, just to remember a few things.
Mm-hmm.
Like my favorite memory is the secret Asian man. I'll never forget that.
No,
Yeah.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and again, that was all around the resonance of the room.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in that room and thinking, what in the hell is this guy doing?
I know.
And
Aw.
as he was doing it, I'm thinking, I don't know how much longer Robert's going to put up with this. And it's like I'm in fear for Kent, and he's totally oblivious.
Yep. Mhm.
And it was the most magnificent. It's the greatest memory I have of that guy. It's like, and I have had the privilege of spending a lot of time with Kent one-on-one.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it was very, very, very good for me. And it's like, it was hard for me to, you know, just imagine the things that guy thought about. So anyway,
Yeah.
it's my way of saying I knew Kent more than I knew you.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Okay, Susan's going to be here in a second, and then we'll get started. How's that?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay, I won't be the secret Asian man.
Thanks for that, Matt Kelly.
What's that?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for not saying that. You just be you.
We'll let CJ wear the hat.
Yeah, well, yeah, I won't say any more than that.
I'll
Susan,
be
can you
fine
hear?
for my previous training. That's rapid. I put it on.
Susan, we got Andre here. Do you want to say hello? Okay, so Andrea, what we do is we always start our calls with ask people how they feel and what do they want to take away from the call.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry.
And what all?
Andrea's been on our Bucky calls.
Yeah, of course she has. Andrea's
Yeah,
one of
long time
the
ago.
originals.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm an original.
Yeah, well, in more ways than one, Andrea.
Yes.
Yeah, she did the group Bucky calls that we did in Phoenix.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, I
remember.
did. Yeah, long time ago now.
Long time ago. Okay,
Mhm.
Henry, how do you feel and what do you want to get out of today?
Hey, well, I'm feeling really excited. This is going to be a great call. It's so cool to have you on board, Andrea. So just really looking forward to the call and see how it rolls out. Who have we got there? Is it Anne? How do you feel and what are you looking to get out of the call today?
Okay, thank you very much, Henry. Good morning, everybody. Great to have Andrea on board. Yes, today I actually haven't decided how I'm feeling, so I think I'm going to leave it at that. More open to whatever is going to come today. And I'm hoping to, the whole idea of macro, micro again is popping up today with the energy and synergy. I can't wait for that as well. So, yep, that's what I'm looking for. And Catalina, how are you feeling and what do you expect to get out today?
Thank you, Anne. My body is feeling, it's in through the middle of a clearing. So I'm a bit sniffly. So apologies for any unannounced sneezings and, interruptions. But other than that, I'm always grateful to be here. The pleasure to meet you, Andrea. You've been mentioned a couple of times, and of your beautifulness and all what you do. It's clearly that you've made an impression of those who have met you. And look forward just to get to know you better. And I'm always looking forward for a rich conversation, because that's what we always get here. So that's me. And Pete, how do you feel when you want to take out today?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. And welcome on board, Andrea. I'm looking forward to today in terms of the metaphysics of it, but I've got a real feeling that we've been building momentum, and that it's almost like every week we take a quantum leap or a quantum depth in our knowledge. So I'm looking forward to that growing. Stephen, how do you feel and what would you like to take away today?
Well, I'm with you on the quantum leaping, either quantum leaping or quantum sinking. I'm not exactly sure, but I know there's something quantum going on here, and that's exciting to me. I'm looking forward to a new depth of understanding and delighted to be here. And welcome, Andrea. Manu, how are you feeling? What is going on? What's your expectation for today?
Feel very good. I'm emerging. I just see a lot of new energy here. I want to have a proclivity to that energy. I want to learn. So I'm in that mode. I want to sync, not syncing like S-I-N-K, but sync with S-Y-N-C. So that's what, Andrea, welcome. And I look forward to really your radiance, and some reflection and refraction on this group. That's what I expect. Julian, how do you expect? How do you feel? What do you? Oh, there's echo.
There's echo, yeah. Think it fixed. All right. Thank you, Manu, and hello, everyone. Hello, Andrea, also. I'm very glad to have you here. Thanks, Manu, for that. So I'm feeling, a bit ago, I was feeling really tired, but I've just come up with a solution to a project I was working on. So I just got excited to to be able to connect here and be thinking forward with that project solved. And what I'm expecting from this call today is that I can learn a lot of new things about all of you, and I'm feeling really glad. On the way, Rafael also told me that he was maybe a little bit late. Maybe he can connect later because he's on another appointment, but he sends everyone his regards. So I think we can go with Joe. Joe, how do you feel today, and what do you expect from the call today?
Hey, Joe, before you start, you live in Pennsylvania, don't you?
Well, New Jersey, right? I'm right on the border.
Yeah, Andrea's Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. Hi,
Yeah.
Andre. Oh, okay. I'm in New Jersey, right over outside of Philadelphia.
Okay, I'm in Bethlehem.
Oh, okay. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
So it's wonderful. It's wonderful to meet somebody that's nearby. I'm feeling energized by, obviously Andrea joining us, and I'm starting to see Bucky in areas of philosophy. So, which has been really interesting lately, in betweenness and some of his other terminology, how it comes out, and even some of the more classical philosophers. So that's been really exciting for me, and I look forward to continue to learning more. And Andrea, how are you? Did she already go? Or
No,
did you
if
already
you
go?
can leave it,
Okay,
I'll bring Andrea on if you don't mind.
Okay, sure, no problem at all. So Anne, how do you feel? What would you like to take away from
Anne's
today?
gone. Anna, perhaps.
Anna, oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, good morning. I'm so sorry about on my camera. I'm trying to get it on. Apologize for that. Anyway, I'm looking forward to today's topic, and I'm just glad to be with you guys this morning. So CJ, what do you expect, and what do you expect to take away today?
Thank you, Anna. So let me start from how I'm feeling. I'm feeling at peace today. It was a bit sad this morning because I have 3 dogs. One of the dog, 11-year-old dog, passed away last night. So got to know this morning because my brother gave them the funeral and things like that. I'm at peace because he has been sick for half a year, and it's good that everything is good now. So I'm feeling at peace. And yesterday I don't know, everything just fall into place. I was jumping from Indonesia meeting site over to Canada, having a sound healing, and the dog passed away during that moment. So hence, I guess it was a blessing. So that's how I'm feeling. I'm at peace now. The next one is what I wish to take away is today when I read the message, and it's about healing. Interesting process of flow for me today. I'm looking forward to that healing. That's what I'm looking forward to. Thank you. Let me see. Manu, I think Manu haven't gone yet.
He's gone. Nelson.
Nelson. Okay, Nelson. Sorry about that.
Thank you, CJ. I'm feeling happy, very excited. Thank you for this call. And my expect is to learn more about Boki articles, synergy and energy, and their difference that I feel and that I might expect. Thank you. Stanley. What do you feel and what do you expect today?
Thanks, Nelson. Good morning, guys. I'm feeling great today. I'm actually excited to be on the call because I kind of missed the past 2 weeks. And well, what do I expect to get out of this today? Well, I literally got Anne's email like half an hour ago on today's session. So when I read about it, I was pretty happy or excited in a way. I feel that there's some sort of synchronicity going on here because for the past week or couple of weeks, I've been sort of exploring energy. It sort of come to me, right? I didn't look for it. So like, you know, I've been exposed to like, you know, there was this fusion research that's been going on lately. I think it was last week, fusion energy. I think it was in China. They're working on perfecting the technology for fusion energy. And I was going through about some videos on our usage of energy, you know, from turning from fossil fuel to electric energy and many ways of harnessing this energy. So now that was all in the science physics way part of it. But when I read this message, the email this morning regarding, you know, energy in a more meta perspective, I was quite excited. It's interesting to me because then I get to, you know, explore the other polarity of it. So energy used to healing, right? So like how human beings have been using energy not in a very healthy way and it's damaging to us and our environment. And now we are exploring different ways of harnessing this energy which are more beneficial or helpful or sustainable. And yeah, so it's interesting to me. So thank you for that. Happy to have you on board, Andrea, and yeah, looking forward. So who's next? All right, Susan, how do you feel and what do you expect to get from today?
I feel relieved that I finally got here technologically, third device now. And I just expect to hang back and enjoy being with Andrea and all of you folks. And Andrea, it's been far too long. Thank you so much for bringing your energy to be with us. And Steve, have you gone yet?
Yes.
I think everybody but me and Andrea is gone. Am I
How
clear?
do you feel and what would you like to get out of today?
I'm beyond excited. For me, it's like a lot of stuff I know or even begin to even think about knowing around feeling and touch and voice started with Andrea's partner, Kent. And, you know, it was like an awkwardness for me because not that Kent was awkward, it was me that was awkward around the stuff that he was talking about. And, you know, I've done a lot of production stuff with Rich Dad Poor Dad and Kiyosaki, and you know, Kent was coming, and Robert brought Kent and Andrea to Rich Dad to spread what it is that they were talking about, and he made both Andrea and Kent available to all the staff for a couple of days, and we got to really understand what was going on. So, you know, it started with Kent, and for me, I can't remember feeling as awkward as I felt when he was singing Secret Asian Man. And I couldn't understand. I was saying, what in the hell is he doing here? What is going on? I mean, it's like I've been around these guys for a long time and nobody had that level of courage to sing. And he sang for about 3 minutes, but he sang in a way that he was toning the room. And it's like he's saying, I'm setting the tone with my voice. It's the first time I ever thought about, oh, here's a guy that is standing in front of people that he doesn't know. He had a good voice, but singing instead of Secret Agent Man, he sings Secret Asian Man. It's a tribute to Robert. And I'm going, I'm sitting behind Robert and I can feel Robert. And Robert's going like, how much longer? Because Robert was a guy for every minute, every second, like, let's get this thing done. And Kent was oblivious. He didn't, it really didn't matter to him. And it's when you started to realize it was how you feel. And I felt genuinely awkward and at the same time, generally privileged. And it sort of changed the view of the way I've thought about feeling and touching and hearing and vibrations. And I also had, Andrea, probably two of the weirdest trips that I've ever been on in my life. Absolutely the weirdest trips I've ever been on. When I drove to New Mexico with Kent in the Mustang. And we were going there to see a shaman. Remember that?
Mhm.
And it was bizarre. I mean, from going down the highway with his hands in the air at 80 miles an hour and nothing on the steering wheel and taking a picture. It's like, it was just who he, you know, what he believed in the senses and all of that, and just exploring them. And, you know, and the other one was, he was concerned about my health because I'm a diabetic and I was a raging diabetic at the time. And, you know, my blood sugar levels were 3 times what they're supposed to be. So Kent said, get up to New York. I'm going to take you to a guy. I know, he's a great guy. I said, oh, okay. So I go to this, I'm going to go to this doctor and this guy's going to do it. And Kent's setting it all up and I'm going to get this oxygen treatment. And it's just going to be fantastic. And so Kent and I are sitting in this room and he leans back. And so Kent says, so, well, what can you tell me about Kelly? And the guy says to him, he's fucked. He might as well go away and die. And Kent saying, really? And he said, yeah, he's fucked. He might as well go away and die. He's not going to be able to deal with that. And Kent just took it in his stride and he just, okay. And we left and he said, don't believe the thing he says. He might be an expert, but don't take it on board. And that's the sort of thing that just, and the way he did it, he just resonated it. And then it's like, it's through that exposure that I got to meet you. And that exposure of, I don't know what the hell, I don't know what the hell was going on with those bells and all the stuff that you're working with, but I do know that I was addicted. And I do know that I had to check the sheets to see how many times you were booked to make sure that I could get in on double bookings and stuff like that. Because I was controlling the bookings and I thought, yeah, well, you know, I'm going to get my share. And so it really was one of those things where it was a hell of an experience for me to just sit back and listen to the sounds of the voice, the sounds of the bells or whatever it is that you were doing. And I remember coming out of there just, I believe I floated out of the room. And I believed I was floating around the room. So it was a very different experience for me. So that's my experience of you and Kent. And I'm sorry I didn't have more experience with you, but I really did have some fun with Kent and with yourself. So with that, I'd like you to talk to us about what you do and the reasons, a lot of the reasons why you do it. And then I'll expose Bucky to the call and then we can come back to you. Are you okay with that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Andrea, how do you feel and what do you expect to get out of this call?
Well, I'm very excited and I feel very honored to be here again on this call. And I'm kind of in a sense of wonder. I just wonder what's going to happen. I'm just open to whatever it is. I don't really have an expectation. I just know I had some more epiphanies this week around empathy and being empathic. And then of course, right after that, you sent me the message. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
No
and that's,
comment.
by the way, Andrea, that's Steve. He's into mindfulness.
Mhm.
And on a call, he all of a sudden says, I'm going to create this word. And say, okay. And I've been looking for an original thought for 20 years. And he comes up with this word. He says, I'm going to create this word called inspansion or expansive. And he was totally convinced that he found this new word, and you know, it's like it's going to be all the rage and we're going to take it. And I said, okay. And I said, you know, every time I've had that feeling, I've gone to the internet and I've looked at it, and I've found out I'm only about 400 years late. But anyway, we just kept looking at it, and it came out expansive. And I think in a lot of ways, that's what I think you're about, is expansive, inside.
Yeah.
I don't know, Steve, you want to say anything about that?
Sounds perfect to me. I can just say that the universe isn't expanding as fast as I am expanding. I'm seeing more betweenness. That was expansion to me. And I thought maybe I'd never heard it before, but Kelly did some research. So there you go.
Sorry to disappoint, Steve, but I thought we got an original one here. Anyway, Andrew, keep going.
Okay. So it's a good question of what do I do? I love helping people to really be who they are, be comfortable in their own skin. And it's through a variety of processes. I continue to learn different things. When I'm working with people, usually there's dialogue to see what the person's goals are and what's going on. And then for most of the processes, people are lying on fully clothed on a massage table, and I'm scanning the body. Again, it depends what type of session we're doing, but I'm scanning the body to sense, to see, to feel in different ways, and just to know where there might be some kind of a blockage, an interruption of the energy, something stuck somewhere, something sort of short-circuiting, and helping to facilitate things moving and shifting and clearing blockages and things reconnecting. But it's really, I mean, even though I get called a healer, that's not really accurate, as probably a lot of you would already know, because each person heals themselves. It's a matter of what is a person willing to, what are they going to allow to happen? And then I am facilitating and supporting and assisting the process in different ways. So I will do it through, through one process called Reiki. That is one of them. And I teach that as well, but also sound healing. So that's what Kelly was referring to with the singing bowls, but I use other things as well. My voice included. I will do different types of toning, and I don't even know what those tones are. Like they just one day just started up years ago when I was having a session with somebody. These sounds started coming out of my mouth, and I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Oh, well, it feels good. And then after, it was one of my regular clients that had started with, and they said, wow, what a difference. They could really feel the frequencies going through them. So I continue with that. Some people have thought someone actually once thought I had a didgeridoo. Like, no, that's my voice. So that's one of the
Andrew, are you open to taking questions?
I would like that. That'd be good, because then I know where to.
Okay, so anybody that has a question for Andrea, make sure we ask them to support her through it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and like you use not only the singing bowls, but you use those little bells.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of things that I that I use. Yeah.
And you choose that by scanning the body.
Yeah, I just that's part of it. I just know. I just use it. I'll just take it off the shelf and just start using it. But there's other processes I do as well. Like there's other, actually, I think that was one I did there, Kelly, at Roberts. It's a kind of a blend between an Apache and an Iroquois healing, with using hot stones and a cloth and cornstarch and powwow music. That one's pretty popular too, because it's very purging and cleansing. And I call in assistance while I'm doing it. So it's not me, it's the room fills up, shall we say.
How can you tell if the energy is blocked, and how do you unblock it?
He just feels it.
Oh.
Andrea just feels it. Like the experience I had was when I had an sore arm for whatever reason, shoulder, because I'd been maybe sleeping wrong. And after the session, it felt better for whatever reason. And Andrea said, I never touched you.
Wow.
And then what happened was, after that, Kelly's good mate, Chris Venn, went in after me. And his experience was totally different. And for whatever reason, he came out and he was white. And I think he even freaked you out, Andrea. And what I spoke to him a little bit about it, and what it was he'd had a lot of happenings in the past, and some of them were really dark. And I think he held them out, and you actually brought it out of him. Like, he went to some really dark places, and you brought it out. And I think it was so, he was shaking. He was just in another space. Do you ever recall that, Kelly?
Yeah, I recall a lot of people with very different experiences. All I know is we should have had an extra week. I think we cut it too short, Andrea.
Yeah, there's a lot of things happen that, and I actually, Henry, I don't even remember a lot of it. A lot of times I go in another zone. I don't remember what happens. Yeah. And actually, so I got a question, Julian, you asked about intuition. Is it always intuition, or? Yes, it is intuition, but yes, sometimes I will just use common sense and logic in there too with it. So it's a kind of a combination of it. But I would say mostly for finding blockages, to answer you, Joe, it's, yes, Henry's right. I'll just sense it as I'm going over. Like I'll either just suddenly know it, or I can actually feel it on the person as I may be scanning if I'm scanning with my hands in that way. But sometimes things are in the energy field too, not just like in the body, obviously. They can be anywhere. So.
Great, thank you, Andrea.
Okay, you're welcome.
Laurent.
Laurent's
just come in. Laurent's in England now, Laurent?
Not yet. Still in Geneva, but we'll fly next week to London.
And Laurent is into mindfulness and meditation. And I'm glad you made it, Laurent.
Thank you. I apologize for the delay. It's 5 o'clock, 5:30, but I'm glad that I made it as well, and very pleased to see you all, miss you all as well. Even if I've been watching the record since now nearly a year. Great to meet you, Andrea. And you got Craig Cushman that say hello, Kelly, and he give you all his regards.
Thank you. Okay, sorry to interrupt, but I had to acknowledge.
Yeah, no, that's good. I just wanted to share that when I first started was on this new path and a new journey in my life, one of the people I was first guided to actually was a woman. She's now deceased because she was in her 80s when I met her. A woman that became a mentor who was a parapsychologist, and she actually worked with a lot of scientists on different projects. Everything from the ones who developed Corningware, did work for the government. At one point, they referred to her as the Mrs. Casey, and referring to Edgar Casey of California. So she would get called in by the government for certain things. Some things she had to, were classified, and, she couldn't speak of them until 25 years later, at least. So that was some interesting stories she shared there. And she was extremely, extremely psychic. And she told us some of the experiments that would be done. And She told me stories of when she was a child and her uncle was at The Hague, and he had taken her in for some testing and then realized how gifted she was and got her out of there because he was afraid she'd be taken away from her family. And I think she was the only one of like her siblings that had these extrasensory gifts, like very, very heightened. She also would speak around the country at different universities and colleges. They would have her on stage explaining different things, and again showing some of her gifts as well. That was very fascinating. She even was involved with the original experiments that led to the like biofeedback, which led to EKG machines and everything. So in the literature, if you go back into all the research when they were coming up with it, her name won't be listed in there, but she was like test subject. I forgot how she said it, but she had a number. She was given a number, and I forgot the number she was given. I didn't take a lot of notes back then because I was like a deer in the headlights with things. Like everything was so new to me. But some of the things she shared were quite fascinating. Even she had met Simeon Carillion. So for those who know about the Carillion photography, the original, she knew him. He was a chauvinist and a racist, by the way. So she shared a few stories about that. Just fascinating. So because I always wanted more of the science behind it as well. Like it's good to be open and to believe things, but sometimes it's also good to have the backup of it, not just wishful thinking and woo-woo. So she more bridged between what would seem that way to show people that it was actually quite scientific. And one of the things she shared, I asked her, because they would run different tests on her, and they would have her, like, for example, they'd put her in a room and have her all hooked up to everything. And then in the other room, they'd have something, and they'd ask her what's in the other room and get her to describe what she was seeing. And I asked her, I said, what happened? I said, because they had your brain hooked up to all these devices. And this would have been, I guess, back in the 70s, I guess. And I said, what did they see when you were having one of those like psychic flash moments? What would happen? And she said, the one scientist had told her that all of her brain everything would light up, and there was like a line that would connect the left and right brain. So it was like the whole brain was involved. So I thought that was kind of fascinating too. So yeah, like I said, she shared lots of stories. So that was one of my mentors. That was one of my original teachers. And a lot of things, like I used to think that all of this, like the work I'm doing now, all raised to believe it was from the devil. That was number one. And then also just thinking it was kind of crazy. But of all the things I've seen personally and experienced, and it's just too many things have happened to be not real at that point. And when it comes to energy, like Henry, when you talked about, like when I said I hadn't touched you, and again, I don't remember any of that, but kind of a narrow way of thinking of it is that the energy healing comes out of the hands, because that's what people think when someone's putting their hands on them. They think the healing is coming from there. Yes, that's one of the places, but people don't realize it's your entire energy field that can be healing to people, or it can have the opposite effect. That's why some people, when you're in their presence, and you know that, all of you do, you're with a good friend or somebody you really like, and your own energy field expands because you can feel that beautiful energy coming from the other person. So a lot of things people experience, they just don't realize it. And even with what's going on in the world right now, with it being with this whole international situation, which you don't have to get into, everyone knows what I'm talking about, that for people that are empathic and really sensitive, it was a whole other level of energy going on, like feeling all of that. I personally had a really hard time with it, and I know how to detach from all that energy and how to try to take yourself off the energy grid and clear and everything. And so for people that were really sensitive, very, very hard, because you're feeling not just your own feelings, but you start picking up on what's going on all over. So it's very hard. So,
Okay, well, what I might do is I might bring up Fuller and then we'll relate it to the stuff that you're talking about. How's that?
yeah, you whatever you want. Yeah, I just want to make sure I don't miss any questions too.
I'm sure the questions will come thick and fast.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna find the right one. What is energy? Where?
Oh, okay, while you're finding that, Manu, you asked like feeling the points of tension. Yeah, it's a little bit like that. It's a little bit like that. Yes, you can just feel something just feels off. And sometimes I'll see it as well. It'll look like a cloud of a chunk of something or a dark sort of cloud or something murky around the person too. But it is, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It is like a point of tension. Yeah, that's a one way you could describe it.
Okay, I had two things opened. Can you see this now, Andrea?
Yes.
Okay, so Joel, will you read for us, please?
Yes, absolutely. Sorry about
And
that.
you can see it now. Andrea, I love this picture of the body and all the stuff going around the body. So I just chuck it in there for whatever it is worth. But anyway, let's go, Joe.
What is synergy? What is energy? What is expansive?
Okay, the word expansive came up in a conversation with Steve. And so it's like one of those things where, okay, it's come out, who knows where it's come from? It just happens to be there. We thought it was a great idea at the time. And then I started looking for it. And so I have absolutely no understanding of how people put the word together, but maybe you want to say how you put the word together, Steve.
Okay. I read this green thing and the comments here, and this is about empathy. The way I see expansion was that normally people talk about the universe expanding, and in that expansion, there's an entropy going on where things seem to be falling apart. And what comes to me is that the universe, if you look at Stephen Hawking's analogy of the expansion, it's like a loaf of raisin bread that is expanding. All the raisins are moving further and further apart from all the other raisins. So since time and space are relative, according to Einstein, one could say the universe is expanding, or what you could say, the universe is expanding. In other words, as a human being learns to calibrate in smaller and smaller increments, the space between a thing gets bigger and bigger. And if you study Mandelbrot set and Julian set, you understand how the Julian set, Mandelbrot set changed topography, that the shorter the ruler is for measuring a coastline, the bigger the measurement is. Then the concept of expansion is like fractal building. Things just keep going deeper and deeper and getting broader and broader. So that's how I meant expansion as a way to explain entropy.
What about density?
Yeah. What about density?
Well, it's like as you go in, it's almost like the black hole gets denser.
Yeah.
I think that you are putting a limitation. You can only talk of, I guess, expansion in the context of duality. Like you talk about energy and synergy. As you are doing, you're calibrating finer and finer. Something else is happening. Expansion. And the two go together. You can't talk about one outside of the context of the other. In other words, one way to see it is that the finer you study and the finer you can grasp the relationship between those fine, the better understanding you have of a whole.
Yeah, so one's associating and one's disassociating.
Yes.
So one's coming together and one's moving apart.
So the other thing that I got out of Steve's idea, the picture that I saw was the event horizon. There's, in many different ways, I think that the scale of the universe, humans are kind of at that middle. And because it's our perspective, we are the event horizon. So when I look out at the outside of me, that's me expanding. When I bring my awareness to what's inside of myself with that finer calibration, that's where I saw and I realize that that very finite universe that's the inside of my own consciousness is absolutely expansive. It's huge. It is a universe unto itself, and you're just dropping through fractals, and each one gets to be a bigger and bigger circle as you drop the pebble into the pond. It's just the surface of the pond is the event horizon, and I am that event horizon.
But
Go ahead.
not but yeah, yes. I wouldn't say didn't want to start with but, because when I say but, it's like I'm contradicting what you're saying. I just want that to hone that into that. This is from the fundamental process of I would call learning, is that life starts with awareness. And only your mind will search for the general, will relate to the general. In that you first see a form, you have first feel a form, because it's already there. You feel it, then you look for further that are alike. If you look at this picture that we have in here, well, maybe we first saw the petal of a plant. And then from the petal of a plant, a rose or whatever that it is, there is a disposition. And our mind lead us to this beautiful representation that I have here. That give, as Steve say, the idea of whole in fractals that are organized with things in between. There are other things in between, but that is the whole picture. If I just lived in the center of this thing, I wouldn't know anything. It's only when my mind relates to this whole that I have a whole picture. Steve, you look excited. Say something.
I am, Manu, because as you speak, you said, look at this picture, and I would just like to share. Okay, if I look at this picture and I say, oh, I'm taking out a magnifying glass, a microscope, and I look and I see this universe, I go, oh, look at the beauty of the universe. But what happens if that little brown six-pointed star inside of that yellow circle that's inside of that red petal, what if suddenly that little six-pointed star was as big as the whole square? What would be inside of that? That's the expansion. The more I look, the more I see, the more is there. Calibrate, calibrate. And the micro becomes infinite. So that's, ooh, I got excited as you talked about this picture.
Okay, so when you look at it from that, if you look at it from that perspective and you start to say, I'm becoming aware. And what we're now thinking, okay, what is consciousness? So when you start to say, I'm becoming aware, what are you becoming aware of?
You're aware of the process. I mean,
of the process, or you're conscious that it's already there.
Yeah, the apprehension, and it's like looking at more dimensions. So when he talks about conventional thinking as opposed to critical thinking or geometric thinking, he talks about expanding, contracting, involuting, evoluting. From what my feel of this is, the expansive is the involution process.
I have something to say here, because thank you, Stephen. When you brought that up, my God, this is something I don't really normally talk to people out there, because it's just too, it may not even make sense, right? But what brought to mind were two very different books I read. Yeah, the information I got. One was actually fiction, and the other is pure science, right? So there was this book that talked about quantum physics, and it was talking about how, okay, I'm not a science person, so I'm not sure how to explain this, but the fact is that everything is like random, right? There's this randomness to the world, but when we look at what is in order, it's actually, when you drill right down to quantum physics, it's like, it's really not. It is, the flow is just all over the place, right? That's what I got out of it. And but the explanation I got further was from this Dr. Michio Kaku's book called Physics of the Future. And he talked about teleportation, right? Teleportation. And the fact is that when we go down really deep into the deeper we go, the more there is, the bigger the spaces are in between, right? And what I got out of that, his explanation of why teleportation is possible, is literally all our little molecules or atoms or whatever puts us together. There's nothing actually holding us in place. There's so much space in between that literally we should be able to walk through things and people. I was blown away by that whole idea of, you know, like the deeper you go, you know, to the point of like literally molecular level, it's like we are held together by nothing, you know. So I'm not sure what the science is behind that, or, you know, but it just blew me away on that. So I'm not sure if.
Okay, so and you use the word out there. Okay, we're always looking out there. And so we've built our whole life on inflation. Just about everything we do is about out there. Now all of a sudden we're talking about in here. So what Manu is saying is, you can't have one word without the other word. You can't have it expanding without it having an expansive space. So now when we're looking at it, we're saying, okay, we have the same thing when you're looking at the word, awareness and then consciousness. You know, it's like, as we start to delve into it, we go out there. The second we go out there, what do we know we must do? Each one of us has to go in here, into this design. And in my view, we avoid that design. And the point I was making when I was listening to Kent sing, or to Andrea play the bells and use her voice, there was no, you know, I could hear it out there, but it was affecting in here. And that was foreign to me. That was absolutely foreign. It was awkward. Awkward to the point where I'm thinking, what in the hell is going on here? And I couldn't find it out there. I couldn't find it anywhere out there. And now all of a sudden I had to start saying, okay, what's in here? I could only, you know, when I was at that stage of my life, I could only see things. I couldn't hear anything. People could tell me all kinds of stuff, and I'd hear the voice, but I couldn't hear anything, if that makes sense. And so, you know, in looking at this thing and saying, what is synergy? What is energy? Right? It's all the same stuff when you look at it. It's all, how does it come together and move apart? And so what we're exploring right now, when you say it's infinite possibility, finite space, does that make sense? So every time you go out there, and the reason why we know is because energy always flows to the least line of resistance. To have a resistance, what does that mean?
Boundary.
There has to be something that stops that. And then if you're looking at design, isn't that where consciousness comes in, Steve?
You know, I keep thinking about Bucky with his whole concept of micro, and the idea that every human being is a unique, you know, special case scenario. And so when I look out there, all I'm really doing is seeing in here. I may think I'm looking out there, but all I'm seeing is more of me. And that takes us off topic, so I'll quit
No,
there.
but what you're saying, it's already there.
That's right.
You can look out there all you want and think you've discovered. It's like, I hate to say it, Steve, but I've been looking for this original thought for a long, long time. And every time I think I have one, I realize it's already out there.
There's nothing new under the sun.
Well, you know, except for the lives that we bring and whatever they bring with it. But again, to me, it's becoming this awareness. We're a beingness that's searching for awareness. And then we're saying, I'm conscious. Well, what are you conscious of?
What you're tuned into.
You're conscious of what's already there. You're tuning into what's already there.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing. And so in design, why avoid the design? Why not say it's already there? How do I flow with it? Anyway, let's keep going on what Fuller's saying. Joel or Joseph?
Sure. What is synergy? What is energy? So I would like to think a little more about the word synergy. The word is the companion of the word energy, energy. Now, where I'm coming to then is that there was nothing in the moon in its geometrical dimensions, there was nothing in its chemistry, there was nothing in its electromagnetics that in any way said it was going to attract the Earth. There was nothing in the Earth that said the same. It was not until you saw the inner behavior being manifested in free space that you realized there was something going on between. That is why I say that mind, a mind alone, has been able to discover relationships that exist in between that are not of any of the special case phenomena. And brain is always dealing in special case.
Okay, what's he saying? What's going on?
It's about mind makes the relationships. The brain can't do that.
The brain, it's a design issue. We're becoming conscious of design. At that moment, are we becoming more conscious? I mean, we have a person on the call in Andrea that's talking about all these things that go on with the voice, the sound, the space, the intuition. That's all synergy.
Yes.
Andrea, can you see that? And you want to make a comment?
I got a lot of things going through my head. I'm sorry, my brain's short-circuiting these days a little bit. Yeah, this is so fascinating. Sorry, I had a few things from things that people have said that I.
You want to catch up or you want to keep going?
Well, I wanted to, and I don't know if this ties in because one of the questions I think was Stanley asked about if this is, because this, it was an important question that you asked about if it's an affinity or if it's something that everybody can tap into. This is what's really important. And that's really what Bucky was talking about too, is that everybody does have access to doing this. And yes, some people are going to have some more gifts and maybe more of an affinity, but anyone can have the affinity. You just have to be aware. You just have to be aware and develop it.
Yeah, capability versus capacity.
Yeah.
So when you look at it and you're starting to increase your capability by your study, but if we look at the pure design of this beingness, we all have the ability to work in synergy. and to understand it, or to work with energy and get into the energy. We increase our capability. And so when we go out, we start to see the disassociation. And when we come in, we start to see the association. Does that make sense, Manu?
Yes. What?
And
Yes, it makes
everybody,
sense.
the good news is everybody can do it.
Yeah.
That's
one thing
that's the good news.
Yes.
One thing practical that I wanted to put here that I feel, I don't know how to say it, but let me try saying it. You cannot calibrate synergy.
No.
You can only calibrate energy. And synergy, if you look at it, you see energy dash energy, ego, therefore energy. What I'm trying to
understand the point Manu's making right there? He's fundamentally saying we're not God. Right? It's synergy. It's like the mixing of energy is part of design. And what we're becoming more aware of is that design. And as we become more aware of it, are we able then to start to use it for advantage or for disadvantage?
Yeah. And that is that is the fundamental of in design, always start from the macro. That is what it is.
And so when we say always start from the macro, which macro do you start with?
Universe.
Yeah. Or what about the macro of your own awareness?
Yes.
How far is your boundary gone out? Because it's not talking about capacity then, it's talking about capability. And so as we improve our capability, now all of a sudden we see more of our capacity, which is to your point, Andrea, about anyone can do it. It's just a matter of where they're at and the relationships they're making. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it goes to Steve Hypercube. You remember, Steve?
Which one?
The Hypercube.
Oh, yeah.
For further dimensions. You remember that?
Yes.
That you talk about, yes.
The tesseract. The cube inside the cube inside the cube. Yeah.
Yes.
And so when you're, Steve, when you're saying it's expanding, is it not a case of our awareness is becoming denser? We're becoming the black hole.
It's synergy in a way, because if I have 1 + 1 + 1, you know, that's 3, but somehow the whole is more than the sum of the parts. And that's that extra something.
Is it fair to say the extra something or extra some things?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's keep going through. So
Depending on how I calibrate. The smaller my ruler, the more things I got.
Yeah. The more you realize the betweenness. You see,
yeah.
Very few people talk about the between and around. It's easy to talk about in and out. But what we say is, no, you've got to have the tetra. You've got to have in, out, between, and around. When you're considering a design, you have to consider all of those. It's not okay just to say in and out, because there's a between. The second you have an in and an out, there's a betweenness. The second you have a betweenness, there's a roundness. And it's all there. Anyway, let's continue to see what Fuller says.
This then comes to the word synergy. Synergy means behaviors of whole systems. and a minimum system would be two behaviors of whole systems unpredicted by behavior of any of the parts of the system. When the parts are considered separately, one from the other, and the word synergy I find going around the world. I've spoken to more than 500 colleges and universities around the world. In the first 300, I checked my audiences asking how many were familiar with the word synergy, and less than 3% and properly known by only about 1% said. So it became evident to me that the word synergy was not popular, but is only the word that means behavior of whole systems unpredicted by behavior of any of the parts when considered only separately. Sin, energy, work, the sin and the sin of synchronization, it's the withness prefix, it's an integrating prefix, whereas the energy was separating out, differentiating out. Now the word energy is very familiar to man because he has been quite content to separate out. He felt that he gained by isolating. Scientifically, you discover, and he has discovered a certain amount by that. You get a great deal of data by isolating, but he hasn't found these great principles by the isolation. At any rate, energy has been a preoccupation of man, and synergy has been really overlooked. But synergy is to energy as integration is to differentiation. Energy is differentiating out, and synergy is integrating in.
Comments or questions? Thanks, Joe.
No problem.
See, we got to remember when this was written. So when he talks about synergy back then, is synergy a word that's well used in today's world?
Yes.
Is it well understood?
No.
No. It's a marketing term.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's been stolen by the marketers to market out in this thing called synergy. So they think that they understand synergy. Well, what's Fuller actually saying that synergy is?
Integration of energy.
Yeah, it's
synchronized energy.
Synchronized energy. And when you're saying it, you're saying energy is differentiating out, and synergy is integrating in. So it's coming together or moving apart. And he's always, so when it moves apart, is that a macro or is that a micro?
Well, and I'm going to say it this way. Energy is expansion and synergy is inspansion.
Yes. So which one's macro, which one's micro?
Well, let me take it this way. Energy, I'll take it with a characteristic. Energy flows, always flows. Energy flows to the line of least resistance. For something to flow, it has to be in quanta, in pieces that flow.
No, it has to be in motion.
Yes.
Quantum is relative.
Yeah. Synergy, you say, is the integration of energy. You can only integrate parts into something. And the most potent manifestation of it is this, is the word gyroscope. Gyroscope exists only to the extent that it is gyrating and pointing to a certain direction constantly. Now, if it is gyrating and then you either stop it or you push it in a certain way that exceeds the limit of that synchronizing of energy. It stops being a gyroscope. It is not. The gyroscope word disappears. If you were in a world where you are impacted by an action of stopping a gyroscope forever, it will disappear. You don't understand, you don't know it anymore. That is synergy in its purest manifestation. Synergy is the influence of bodies in motion, or other bodies in motion, in patterns other than 180 degrees. In other words, in pattern other than pure alignment.
So Manu, when you're talking about synergy, you're actually talking about motion in everything. The thing that Fuller is talking about throughout his books is that we got to get off this idea that we have these non-moving. It's always in motion. Bodies in motion on bodies in motion. And then you start to look at the boundaries. We start to see boundaries and the effect of the boundaries.
Excellent.
And so when we're looking at that, a gyroscope is a way for us to see all the different motions. Because when you start to see all of, and he's saying all the motions of the universe and all the shapes and forms that they're taking. So in my mind, as we start to look at this thing and we start to say, okay, if we look at synergy, we have to look at it from our ability and our capability to understand, not the capacity of what's already there. It's already there. And Fuller's saying only 3% really understand what synergy is. But I would say to you that's very different today because of the way the word has become popular. He's saying the word was unpopular then. It's not unpopular now. You see so many things about synergy. So what's that starting to do to us as a mass of thought? When we start to lead with the word synergy, what does it do to the mass of thought?
Momentum.
Yeah, it creates a momentum, but does it demand definition?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And so now all of a sudden we're looking at what is the definition of synergy, and what does it matter so important? And the number one reason why I wanted Andrea here today, she has a totally different context to me when we're talking about energy and motion. And if I'm going to increase my capability, I have to be willing to really study and say, okay, what is being said here and what's my experience of it? I don't understand it. And I know what my experience is. My experience of it has always been awkward. Almost embarrassingly smile. Did I just do that? Whoa, did that just happen to me? No, that couldn't have happened to me. That's not possible. But every time it happens, what does it do to me as an individual?
Expands you.
It expands and increases my capability if I'm willing to be open to whatever it is that's coming in. And a lot of times, I don't even think we have choices anymore about being open about things. I think we're getting told.
One of the interesting things, Kelly, about being open and the word synergy is for those who are healers who have done healing or for people reasonably on the empath scale, you're actually open, whether consciously or unconsciously, to energies and information from other dimensions. And in string theory, they talk about, I don't know, was it 11 or 14 different dimensions they've proved? I don't know what it is. But the thing with the being open to other energies and other dimensions and other information, most healers are actually not conscious to what's going on. They're just open and facilitating. It's a willingness, if you like, to surrender to the universe. And synergy in terms of energy in the universe, I read the other day that 23% of the population are open to being either a dictator or being dictated. And I sat there for about an hour thinking about that with a little bit of angst. And then I thought, well, how many people are actually open to being love and being free? Because it's just another energy. It's just another dimension. And, freedom has a higher frequency than dictatorship. But I'm getting off track on the synergy thing. You can create momentum with either.
But I would say to you, it's impossible to get off the synergy track.
It's energy moving.
It's energy moving.
It's simply because of the possibility. And I've been trying to bait Steve on this all call, and sooner or later I'm going to get a hook. This idea of consciousness. Is there a difference between consciousness and awareness, or conscious and awareness?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, of course.
Well,
you're my guru.
Yeah, I'm the guru. The only problem is there's no standardized definitions. I think that's one of the cool missions of this call, is we're trying to update these definitions and come to some kind of consensus so we can collaborate and or cooperate. Because without a definition, there is no cooperation or collaboration. So, if you ask me, there's awareness has to do, it maybe is probably micro, and consciousness maybe is macro, at least from one point of view, Kelly. I'm not sure what to say about it because both questions are overwhelming to me.
Well,
consciousness is the universe. Consciousness is the universe, and awareness is my participation in it, maybe.
I think it will be better to consider consciousness and awareness as macro, micro, as a duality. I think that we actually landed on this a week ago or something like that.
Yes, what's important is they're different.
Yeah.
But they're compatible with each other.
They coexist.
They coexist.
Isn't awareness
and
a consciousness with a wisdom with it? I always think of awareness as having, it's not just that something, not just conscious of something, but there's a wisdom with it, with awareness. That's just my personal opinion on it.
I like
that. I thought consciousness was the discovery of what is already there. So isn't that awareness?
But my awareness is personal. Consciousness is already there.
Yeah, consciousness is something we all participate in, maybe.
And we discover.
And I discover it through my awareness, maybe.
Okay.
That's why consciousness is macro and awareness would be micro, if I'm hearing Manu, what he said.
I will understand it that way.
I like that. That's a good beginning. And I don't mind the idea of wisdom in there, Andrea. I think that awareness has something to do with that. If there isn't some kind of wisdom, then I don't know that the awareness can be complete. It must have wisdom with it, maybe. Good idea.
Wisdom is to the individual. Consciousness is to the mass.
Yeah.
So this may be a stupid question, but I do have to ask it. awareness expansive?
I think so.
I think so too.
Because well, if it is expansive, then we have outside and inside, coming back to what Susan had spoken about earlier, and outside and inside. I looked at as awareness being outside. You're aware of the outside, which is consciousness. Then you have the inside, which is then expansive, which is the universe unto itself, your experiences. And this kind of gets back to what we were talking about last week with each individual experience. I'm going to leave it there.
Well,
I'm
you
not going to
read
go
it
into
this week.
circumstances.
But you read it this way. You just read it, Joe. You just said the special case.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, the special case.
Yeah, you just read it tonight. And I think that is awareness, and it's micro. And consciousness is out there, it's macro. And if you and I together bring our awareness together, we have a sense of consciousness.
So the other interesting thing with what you just said, Steve, is there's all sorts of people around the world who regularly get together in a group of 8 or more, and they will pray and or meditate for certain things in certain areas. And the metaphysician in me says that's wonderful and I understand it. But the part of me that wants the science understands that science has actually tested that out when people have been doing mass meditations and mass prayer. And they've had situations where war zones have had a day of peace. They've had situations where crime zones have had no crimes for 72 hours. So the synergy of us going inwardly for a intention to the betterment of society is actually always there. We just seem to have a resistance to doing so.
And I would say that occurs, Peter, even without the intention to better society. If you and I just simply begin to expand and expand our awareness by expanding, that creates the wave.
Well,
and in fact, maybe my conscious intention to change the world actually screws it up. I love the way Andrea said at the beginning, you know, people call her a healer, but people heal themselves. And if I think I'm a healer, I'm screwing you up and me up.
Yet at the same time, those who are healers need to own that they can facilitate for others to heal.
And there are times when
show the path of how to heal.
Yeah, show the path.
Well, there are times when it's important for me to go to the hospital and have a healer work with me. But at some point, I have to divorce myself from all that healing energy and walk out in the street on my own. And if I don't resolve the issue, I'm going to walk back out in the street, get hit by a truck, and go back in the hospital again. And I'm going to need that healer again. Either I get accountable and aware, or I'm a victim.
Well, the frequency of responsibility actually opens up synergy as well. Because when you are being a victim or irresponsible, you're unconsciously shutting down synergy. You're unconsciously shutting down the ability for energies to create momentum and cycles and go. And, you know, in my mind, that always comes back to a simple choice. If I'm responsible, I can create freedom for myself. If I'm irresponsible, I've surrendered my sovereignty and I'm creating a level of slavery for myself. And conversely, if I choose to be loving, I unconsciously give permission to everyone else around me to be loving because that frequency is influencing them.
True enough. And I agree with everything you're saying, and I feel an urgency to express this point. If it's true, if you and I sat around and we meditated, and whether we were conscious about creating something for somebody else or not, let's say that we actually create a situation where the crime levels drop down in our city because we're all focused with that. What does that mean? Well, that means that the criminal didn't get motivated to go out and do a crime. And as soon as we stop, I'm just proposing this as a theoretical argument. As soon as we stop our meditation, that energy is gone and the criminal will go back to doing their thing, right? It's important for everyone to look in and everyone to find that space between. I don't know.
So you're talking about tuning, and I'm aware that we'll end up going forever. Andrew, is there any comments you want to make before we go back to the group and ask them how they feel and what they take away?
Steve, I want to thank you for bringing up the Mandelbrot set. I just want to say that because I remember the first time I heard about it and I started looking into it, it just opened up so much, so much for me, and just realizing the depth of creation and what's around us, and just absolutely fascinating. It was it was a wonderful rabbit hole to go down. So thank you for reminding me about it again. What I want to say is just how important it is right now. And I'm trying to, Peter and Catalina, write what you were writing there about consciousness and awareness. I got to copy that later. That's very beautiful. But what I want to say is it's just becoming so clear that it's so important for every person to really become aligned and in tune with who you are and your purpose, and to clear yourself so that you can help more people, and to change, like what Peter was talking about, that the vibration, the frequency of love, like that, to have that to help people. It's so important, because even if it's just one person in a room of 30 people, it's the power of that is incredible for shifting. And right now it's what is desperately needed everywhere. So it's important to really develop and tune into what you can, the gifts that you have, because everybody's got them. That's really important right now.
Okay, so we'll start finishing up the call. Philemon, you're here. Philemon, how do you feel, and what did you get out of today's call?
I'm feeling a bit ripped off, because when I entered, I had to send me the link. I thought, wow, you guys have gone deep really quickly. I stuffed up with the hour's time. I thought, wow, look, we must have done the how do you feel and what do you want to get out of today real quick, but we're really into it. And now I've just realized I buggered up my times. I just want to chip in regarding the awareness and the consciousness, and I can't wait to watch this back. I don't mind sharing. I've shared this with Steve. I'm a very experiential bloke. I was aware a few years ago from a medicine man who told me a lot about plant medicines. That awareness then made me, or drove me, or guided me into experimenting with plant medicines. So since then, I've loved the experiment. Ayahuasca, DMT, 3-MeO, 5-MeO, sucking the toad off, the poison off a poisonous toad, mushrooms, I don't give a shit. Now, I'm going to give my 2 cents worth, right? I'll turn around and I'll say, to be in consciousness, and people do this with Kundalini yoga and, I don't know, sitting there standing on one leg and hopping for 3 days and all kinds of shit. I'm just going to explain it the way I've gotten it. It is when there is no awareness. It is when you are 100% detached from your body, your mind, and you're in this world, in this space that is so real that this is not real. When we come back here, you realize how made up all this stuff is. And I'm aware of that. But to reach consciousness, that's what I do. And I love bringing that back here, because it isn't linear. It's all the stuff we talk about. It isn't linear. There is no right. There is no wrong. It's all symbols, no language. We interpret it through, when I'm there, it's all interpretation through symbols. And sometimes it's as short as 10 minutes. And sometimes it goes all night, depending. But to me, that is true consciousness. And I bring it back into here, and then I play in this space. That's cool. That's synergy for me. Susan, how you going, darling? You're not in hospital this week. You're not in the bed with the cats.
Yeah. Philip, thank you for making it in. I feel so blessed to be in the company of so many good friends. I've been having a great experience. I'm day 2 into a 3-day master breathwork course, so trying to catch up with people on all different levels. Until I give up my medical license, I'm probably not going to do the plant medicine thing. But what I really loved was diving into a word. The definition of inspiration and expiration, they both have the spirito in the middle of that word, and really looking at this idea of an intertwining between consciousness and spirit for me has been rich over this time frame. And even one of the other fun pieces was looking at the word conspiracy, con meaning with, and inspire meaning to breathe. And so when a group of people get together and they breathe together, they become very powerful. And this is such a group where we breathe together, we exercise our minds together. And it's interesting that it took outside authorities coming in to give that a bad and evil connotation, when really it could have been something very, very beautiful. So I'm enjoying the exploration. CJ, how do you feel and what are you taking away?
Hey, Susan. So I'm feeling energetic, expansive, and inspired. It was a very beautiful conversation today. And what did I learn or get out of today would be, I wrote it down, 2 things. The first is I heal myself so that I can heal others. So working inwards. Second thing is I noticed the word yin and yang beside the note, the expansive, expansive. So it reminds me of 6-month mastery training of looking into the yin and yang energy, more for personal growth. And to me, expansive, expansive coexist. When they coexist in a harmony form, it resonates and amplifies. If not, it will be all over the place. So that is my learning for today. And passing on to Anne, what do you feel and what do you learn today?
Thank you very much, CJ. Okay, I must tell you, I'm completely confused. Okay, because right, the 2 things that we are dealing with today are the healing. Okay, and there's so many ways of healing that is so different from what we get from the traditional medical doctors and so on. And I think in this group, many of us have experienced, being going through releasing and sound bath, and the resonating of the bell when it dings and it goes around your head. I've experienced that too. It's just in there, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. It's like this. You're in this space, and yet it's inside a small space, but you feel like you're in this cavernous, room. It's not even a room, like in a cave, right? So, but to make sense of it, right, with the science behind this, this is the first time I'm seeing it together. So that's where the confusion comes from, because then, okay, what do I do moving forward with this? So, yep, I'm looking forward to spending the time to figure this out and see where it takes. Okay, so that's my takeaway, and it went with how I felt. So Stephen, how do you feel and what is your takeaway?
Well, I'm just thrilled to be here and have everybody share. I love this overall goal of coming to some standardized, updated definitions for all these words. And when I have a word, then I have a handle and I have an invitation to focus. So I've enjoyed everybody's sharing today, and looking forward to the continued journey. Henry, how are you feeling and what's your takeaway today?
Feeling great. Really enjoyed the call. Thank you. It's a real privilege having everybody here. Everyone can contribute, and Andrea especially brings in another element, another faction into it, which is really good. Love the words expansive. That's new to me, but it makes sense, and it's great. So we're growing the synergy, bodies in motion on bodies in motion, which is precession. And the whole goal of Bucky was you want to be able to sensorially comprehend precession, and that is what we do. And if you can get that as a talent and you can train into that, like I say, it's available to everybody. And what Andrea has demonstrated is she has that gift. She is really in tune to sensorily comprehend precession within people and let it grow and become something else. So it's really neat. I have been thinking a lot about the wording and the wording that was used last week. We talked about things. People talk about visualization. And I think it's now ready to actually take that word out because it's too small. And we'd really introduce the word sensorialize. So rather than visualize a goal, can you sensorialize a goal? Can you add a few more dimensions in it? Would that change people's thinking? Would that change people's outcome? Would it make it more real? Just getting little insights every now and then from just being a part of the group, and we're growing as we go, which is really cool. So that's my thoughts. Who we got? Joe, how you feeling? And what did you get out of today's call, mate? Oh, and go the All Blacks, Kelly.
Mate, there's no chance today. They're in WA.
Well, I just realized that they have no chance today. That was my one takeaway. No, just joking. And I'm feeling pretty good. That I learned a lot more about how to think about consciousness a little bit differently than I have in the past. And the idea of expansion and how to look inward as well is really something that I too need to come back and listen to this recording again. This is one of the ones that I actually need. I'm a little bit confused about, but I do see some relationships with special case and what we covered last week and how that relates to expansion. And a lot of, I'm just going to leave it there for this evening. So Nelson, how do you feel? What are you taking away from today?
Thank you, Joseph. I'm feeling good. Thank you for this call. I enjoy. And I take away. I remember when I listened. I speak slowly. Okay. Okay. I remember when I listened Jason Time 3 years ago in a training. He said, if I have a seed, sunshine, water, and land, the individual behavior does nothing to the seed, but the behavior of the whole system acting together. Seed, sun, water, and land. The seed will be growing. This is synergy for me. I don't know if you understand me, but that I feel, and that my takeaway is takeaway. Thank you. Catalina, what do you feel and what do you expect?
Thank you, Nelson. I just want to say to Anne and to Joe something that Steve told me a while ago, probably over a year ago. You know, I was in one session that was really confused. Being confused is the beginning to understand. So it's I always not necessarily enjoy the process of confusion, but I like to know, and I'm grateful to know that that's the process to actually be unconfused, to understand and to embody what's next. So very grateful for today. Very grateful for Andrea to come, you know, being part of this group of and these rich conversations and have another contribution to the field. Not really sure what takeaway, because it's a rich conversation. It's always a very exhilarating topic. You know, it's been all about healing and energy. It's kind of hard to choose one. But what Nelson just said before, you know, it's the about the effect of environment reminded me of epigenetics, right? And I actually love the book from Dr. Bruce Lipton, where he actually explains beautifully, simply, and the science of epigenetics, the effects of the environment of the individual, and how that actually even is reflected, how we believe or perceive something, and it's actually reflected in our world. That's why even two people that could potentially have a very similar circumstance and have a different perspective or perception or belief would actually see or experience the same circumstance slightly different. So, and that's cool. I don't know what else to say. Tate, how do you feel when you took away from today?
Thanks, Kat. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good still. I guess this talk today has actually put me in a bit of a reflective mood because for some reason I seem to have the theme in my brain going between the disharmony between science and religion and statism. And that's reflected in our society today with, you know, an unwillingness for those who are vaccinated to allow those who don't want to be vaccinated to be unvaccinated, and there's an unwillingness across both sides of that spectrum. You know, there's an old military axiom: divide and conquer, and if you can divide a people, you can conquer them. And I actually think it's actually time for humans to stop being divided and come from a space of love and non-judgment. And whatever choices you want to make, I mean, if Philemon wants to do some experiments with plant medicine, so long as he's not hurting anyone, God bless him, you know. If I don't want to do that, or I do want to do that, God bless me, or the universe bless me, or whatever it is that blesses you. And I like this conversation because we come together with however many of us there are, 15 or 16 of us, and totally different parts of the world, totally different viewpoints. And in theory, this is just a bland, boring intellectual topic called Buckminster Fuller. And yet it's rich and it's vibrant and it's veritas and it's spirit. And if we can come together as a small group and discuss things, whether we agree or disagree, in a spirit of openness and non-judgment and acceptance, then that's a possibility for the world. And I think the world, if we do not come to a space of that in a collective, we are going to destroy each other again. We did it in Atlantis, and we've done it a few other times. So I'm actually feeling quite hopeful out of that, you know, discourse. Laurent, who I haven't seen in at least bloody a year or more, mate. How are you? How do you feel? And what did you take away today?
Thank you. It's great to see you and Katarina. And I'm feeling very grateful to all and to the group and being present this morning, early morning for me in Europe. What's my takeaway? Several love the call, lot of takeaway, but I like the infinite possibility in a finite space. It's I'm gonna ponder on that, and a big takeaway is capability and capacity. Even if I know it, but it's something that it's important to ponder. And regarding the awareness and consciousness, awareness from it's having the knowledge of something. of being observant kind of, but as well consciousness, and being conscious. It's from my point of view, it's having the choice and make it a deliberate choice of creation. So it's and I really like the synergy. It's the synchronization of two or more energy, and it's this tuning that Peter, you explained it very, very well when you explain the two persons that meditate together or more that meditate together. There is really a high power that is generated out of those meditation, prayer, of vibration, and it made me as well think as well about the power of resonance that is much more powerful. Basically, someone that is mindful and just that is just tuning will be much more powerful than some people that are kind of lost and living their life on a subconscious rhythm. So great to be here. So happy to see you all, and that's what I take away. I'm not the last. I didn't count. Andrea, so good to meet you, and thanks for your cheering. Pity I arrived a bit late. I apologize about that. Andrea, how do you feel, and what's your takeaway?
I feel fascinated. I really enjoyed this call tonight. It's been so long, and it's just wonderful really connecting with people from all over the world and having this deep conversation. I apologize, my brain isn't quite working right now. I'm having a hard time forming words. I love the word expansive, because I had not heard it until I got that email, and I feel that's what I'm doing right now myself. I'm going to focus on that word more. That's what I personally need to do, I feel. So I'm grateful for that, and for hearing everything everyone has said. There's a lot of food for thought before I go to sleep. So thank you, everybody. So I don't know who's next.
Manu.
Manu, how do you feel, and what did you learn today? Was that it? Sorry.
That's fine, Andrea.
Okay.
I really feel grateful. Really, I came in, I said, with a proclivity to learn. And I think I've learned a lot. What I take away is something that is, to me, very practical. Is the power of two-ness. Life starts with awareness. Unity is plural at the minimum of two. And two always in relationship to another two-ness. Two always in relationship to another two-ness. So if I'm confused now, I'm not yet tuned to another two, to the two that will help me understand that whole. And that is synergy, as Laurent said, integration, synchronization of parts. And the other words is energy. Energy is EN, ego, egg, is work, is dividing, it is calibrating, it is radiating. That's what I take away. To me, is very, very practical. Stanley, how do you feel? What do you take away?
Thank you, Manu. I feel enlightened in a way. I feel great to be part of this conversation. Thank you, everyone. And you know, through the whole discussion, you know, in the background, my head is playing, and I feel that, you know, consciousness give rise to awareness. Awareness give rise to perception. The perception, we use it to perceive the external world and the inner world. There's the outer space and the inner space. And through my experience, I feel that it has to be balanced. If we explore too much of the outer space without, you know, looking into the inner space, and that creates an imbalance. Likewise, if you explore too much on the inside without, you know, being pragmatic, and that creates an imbalance, and imbalance creates a dis-ease. And when you're dis-ease, you're not feeling well, and that prohibits your ability to function normally or optimally. And so yeah, that is my takeaway for today. Thank you.
Julian.
Sorry, Julian. Yeah, Julian. How do you feel, and what is your takeaway today?
Thank you, Stanley. So I'm feeling, on one side, I'm feeling surprised. And I think also fascinated, because all of the new concepts and new learnings from today, you know, what I take away from all of this is that I can start trusting more on the things that you know, at the beginning I was also a little bit confused, something like Anne, because we were talking about these new words, expansion, and we were trying to get a definition and all of that. And yeah, but it all started to make more sense when I started to think about my own experience. And yeah, I have also been into meditation, and I have also been into looking into the purpose of my life. And I even you make me think about how I'm making use of the word synergy, like in my daily life and in other contexts. And you started to think, me, I have done this wrong. And no, actually, all of us have experienced synergy in some kind of way, and we are becoming more expert on the with time, with how we approach it, how we become conscious of what is good for us. So for instance, when I was thinking about synergy, is about like, okay, so there's this all of other things behind me that can help me. And if I'm in the good path, like if I'm with this purpose, if I have this clear purpose, like all of these things are going to help me. And I really believe that all of us have experienced that sometime, you know? So I do think that all of these can be so complex to just try to explain and to write it down in a definition and in a sheet of paper or anything like that. But at the end of, like, it's not that difficult, you know? It's like, if you pay attention, you can start digging into it and make it easier for your life, because if you can understand it a little bit better, you can get a benefit from it for your life and for the better life of everyone around you. So yeah, a lot of things, a lot of new learnings, and thank you, because it's not easy to become aware of all of these things in just this short time. So thank you, all of you. I don't know who's left. Maybe Kelly, right?
Yeah, I think everyone's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. So if everyone is gone, so Kelly, how are you feeling today, and what do you take away of this amazing talk?
Well, I feel extremely grateful. Andrea, thank you for taking the time. I know it's bizarre to say to somebody, knowing it's 11 o'clock their time at night, hey, come and talk to a group of people and be part of something. And I really appreciate your spirit on that. So thank you. I want to, it's Nelson reminded me about the seed. Nelson, that's when Jason and I were in Colombia, yeah? Yeah, let me give you an experience.
Yeah, Colombia.
Yeah, let me give you an experience that I had with Nelson and Jason. And to this day, I don't understand it. To this day, I don't even understand how I got there or why I was there. And Nelson and his wife, Corrine, invited me to Colombia to work what I thought was with an association of parents. And I was going to go down there and grow this association and these swimmers in their the artistic swimming and so on. And I get there and I find out the day that I get there, I find out that the people that we're going to be working with were going to be from the ages of 4 to 18, all girls. And I'm thinking to myself, what in the, I've just traveled around the world. I have absolutely no idea of what I'm going to do with girls from the age of 4 to 18. And we had a very specific goal, Andrea. Our goal was they'd never qualified to be in the Olympics in their routine. And what they wanted to do, they had one single-minded goal, was to beat Brazil. So the Colombian team was going to beat Brazil. And I'm thinking, how did I get here? What the hell am I going to be doing here? And then I suddenly realized there's only one thing you can do: dance and sing. So I kid you not. So for a day and a half, and all the coaches watched us, and all the coaches are saying, what in the hell are these guys doing here? They got to be crazy. And all we did was dance and sing. We got in this gym and we got the girls and said, what do you want to do? And they were doing all the stuff. So they wanted to dance and sing. And what it did is it released the girls and allowed them to be who they were. And yeah, we had a lot of breakdowns. We had a lot of people getting upset and all the rest of it. But in the end of it, our goal was for these young women, these young Olympians, to actually qualify to go to the Olympics for their country, and their country qualified to be at the Olympics. Turns out they did, and turns out that they did very well. They were the top team from South America. And it all came from the release of whatever they had in them. And it had nothing to do with me. All I could think of is, how in the hell am I going to get out of here alive? You know, I'm here under false pretenses. And at the end of it, I realized that the only thing that really had to happen is we just had to be people together. And they had to feel themselves. And when they did, they actually were able to perform, and they did very, very well. And, you know, it's like, here's me thinking we're going to be going down and talking how to enroll more people in the sport and get more people around it, when it had nothing to do with that. And to this day, I still don't know why I was there, but I do know that it was fun and I enjoyed it. And thank you to Nelson and Corrine for me being there. But it really taught me a lot about, you know, the feeling of something, the sense or the sensorialness of it. Far more important than anything else we could have done. The other thing we did is we painted big murals with their hands and their feet, and they danced. And, you know, at the end of it, they just had a ball. And I had Olympic coaches that were watching and poo-pooing and saying, who the fuck is this guy? Get him out of here before he destroys these girls. And we actually finished it. It was kind of fun. And the last thing I was going to say is, hey, Philemon, where do I get the toads? You know, it's like, give me some of those toads. If it expands your mind, I'm into it. So.
No, Norway every time I'm going to come up to Brisbane, actually. So as soon as they open the borders, I'm coming up there to suck another one.
Oh, I'm in the right state then. Thank you.
Right state. I'm in scarcity at the moment, mate. I'm becoming human because for 6 months in lockdown, I'm stuck in the human experience. I've got to get back in the consciousness.
All right, mate. Well, let me know. Anyway, thank you, Andrea. Thank you to everybody else for being on the call. And I'm 1 minute early. Thank you.
How did you manage, Kenny? How did you manage?
Thank you. Bye.
Ending on time.
Bye, everybody.